Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to ChiNet, where we learn from builders before the machines take over. I'm your host, Rachit Magan, and today we're diving into something that sounds like science fiction, but is happening right now. AI agents that can work on your computer, do the tasks, but actually log into your systems, just like we do. We're living through a quiet revolution in AI development. Although it's really cool, and even OpenAI released their agents last week, but there's a fundamental infrastructure problem that's been limiting what AI agents can actually do in the real world. The problem is authentication. And today's guest has been in these trenches for over a decade. Meet Subhakar, founder of TheMoonDevs and Microfox, where he's helped more than 30 startups navigate the complex world of AI, blockchain, and authentication systems just like this, which actually work in production. Subhakar, welcome to Chinet, and let's start, with a simple question. Can you give us like a small background of yourself and an introduction?
Hello guys, hi. Myself, I'm Subhakar Tikkireddy. I've been in the industry for about 10 years now. I started off as a freelancer, and then I got a journey into contracts and all that, and then I started my own company, TheMoonDevs, through which I used to work with startups as a tech advisor, and then it got bigger and bigger, and now we're sort of working on a very gargantuan project. It's called Microfox, which I'll explain in due time. Yeah, that's pretty much about me. Very techy, but also very designer related stuff as well.
Amazing. That's very similar to my story. I also was, doing my own. I initially started a software services company back in the day, but then I moved completely into the product side. But let's talk a bit about Microfox. Can you give us, a small idea that what does Microfox do, and how did you actually get where you are today with Microsoft,
Well,
Microfox. I'm so sorry.
yeah, yeah, no issue. We always get confused as
Yeah,
well, Microsoft
it's
and
kind of
Microsoft.
a tongue twister. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's
that's a
what
good
catches.
tongue twister. That's a good tongue twister to
That's a
have.
good tongue twister. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it all started off on a random venture that one of my client asked me to build a bot, like it was like a Discord bot and a Slack bot for his internal purposes, right? And then while I was building that bot, I had observed that the code is not so complicated, and around this time, the coding capabilities of AI were very hyper smart at that time. So I got the idea, why not let's just make a code that writes code, that will build this bot, and that was the initial start of the idea. But then as I started implementing that I have noticed that there is a bigger playground that we can play around in this sort of area. So what we were currently trying to do, why I say Microfox is gargantuan, is not just because it's one layer deep. Because what when I say one layer deep, you can kind of assume like bold, replit, lovable, these kind of platforms where you can
Right.
automatically. So that is layer one, right? And at a layer two, what you have is like code that writes code on a two-layer level. So basically, what we do is like if we want to build a website, we don't build the website anymore. We just create a coding agent that is capable of building the website, fixing the website, upgrading the website, maintaining the website, everything. So that is a coding agent technology. Now, where it gets really awesome is the level three. So it kind of forms like a code loop, wherein at level three, what happens is you write a code that writes code and that writes code, and it forms like a circular code loop. So what I'll give you an example, right? Using Microfox, what we did at the initial level was, npm packages, right? Like Node.js
Right.
package. So we created a package Fox. It's a small AI coding agent which is capable of building packages right on the fly. You just have to describe the API documentation in the link in the issue, and it will create the package. And then we had another coding agent which is called BuildFox, which is capable of creating automations, right? So what happened was the first coding agent, that is the package Fox, right? The package Fox is capable of creating packages, and it built a package on the basis of OctoKit. OctoKit is GitHub based. You know how you can control GitHub using code and all.
Right.
And now you have BuildFox, which is capable of using this package and going to GitHub and search for up to date latest other packages and API documentations. It will trigger again the package Fox, which will again trigger the BuildFox, which will again trigger the package Fox, and it's an endless cycle of software getting created, autonomously, like without any human input needed. But yeah, it is not perfect per se. It is failing at least at 21.54% according to our statistics. But anyway, we were there and we can get it there as long as Gemini 2.5 keeps on improving its reasoning ability.
Right.
We will get there. So that gargantuan mechanism where what the dream is, Microfox is an AI agent that can write code really, really well on multiple levels, and it can manipulate its own source code, self evolving its capabilities with due time and progress. As the world changes, it will keep on evolving itself by writing its own source code. So that is the bigger gargantuan dream, and for that we are setting up the foundation and blockstones, all that.
Amazing. Wow. That sounds like the future of technology in general. But
Yeah,
yeah, but in terms of Microfox, it's really interesting that that what you explained, that how your npm packages agent is
yeah,
actually triggering the build agent, which is then triggering the packages agent.
yeah,
That's I think that's how eventually software would be written.
yeah,
But I want to go a bit above and just see, because right now what we're seeing is 90% of the AI tools out there, right, are mostly AI chatbots packaged into something else, right? Either it'll be even if it's voice, right, even if even if it's things like receptionist and all, at the end of the day they are chatbots with with the 11 labs integration, right? But
yeah.
what is the difference between like what's the fundamental difference between a chatbot and an agent, and like an agent which we see or which we foresee that will replace humans, because today's chatbots, I think they're very very far away from replacing humans, right?
Yeah, I guess the actual differentiating factor is quite simple. It's tools. So basically, in a chatbot, what you have is an LLM model that is capable of texting with you, right? In an AI agent, what you have is tools, right? Each tool can have sub agents, or it can have its own orchestrators, or it can have some sequential thing, or it can be a simple API call. It can be anything. But these tools give the actual AI simple LLM model the capability to do lots of stuff, right? That is where AI agent is building up its space in the last 3 months. Basically, in October, there was no tool calling abilities, the last 2024 October, right?
Right.
And then when the tool calling abilities started, that's when you had seen this MCP got shoot off and AI agents start blooming everywhere, LangGraph, LangChain, all the mass stuff had happening because of primarily one crux point, that is tool calling
Tools.
ability.
Right. Amazing. Yeah, so tools basically then give an LLM the ability, the weapons to actually eventually
Yeah,
replace humans.
yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's quite
But
dangerous. Yeah,
right, it is. It is. I'm sure. Like tomorrow, what I imagine is tomorrow's agents. Let's say if they have access to, they'll have access to finance, right? They'll have access to banking. They'll have access to everything through these tools, and then they'll probably agents would be hiring humans to do physical tasks. That
yeah.
okay, we've done everything. Now the only thing you have to do is go to this place and do
On
this.
a small level, it is already happening. I mean, most of the HR routines in bigger enterprises are being replaced by, AI agentic
Agent.
interviews and all that.
Right.
Like, on a small level, we're already seeing that
We're
happening.
already seeing that, yeah. Now the HRs basically have to just do the physical verification.
Hmm.
Everything else is done by the agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, and that's right now. There's also this big discussion happening that if an AI is actually rejecting our job applications, then is it even correct if we're being rejected by AI? But yeah, that's I think that's a discussion for another day. Let's talk about multi-agent systems. Can you walk us through, like you said, like agents have access to tools, but in your case, like for example in the Microfox case, you said that there's one agent triggering another agent, so it's like a multi-agent system, and that's what we're seeing, that the future will be these multi-agent systems, right?
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean, and why would you want to build a multi-agent system versus like one really really smart agent?
Yeah, so coming to this point, as I said, it all comes back to the tool calls. Basically, what happened was when LangGraph got introduced, at
Right,
that time of where the tool calling abilities were being innovated, and the way we used to create AI agents were changing a fundamental shift, like what was happening there. For example, if you take the Bill Fox that I explained, the
right,
one that builds automation, it's not a singular agent. Inside it, there is multiple sub agents which it orchestrates in order to one sub agent does the researching part well, one sub agent does the code writing part well, and one sub agent does the planning part well. So there is like multiple steps. And the issue is if you divide these things into multiple agents, even inside the build box, it becomes more clearer, and we have a tighter control. As a developer, we have a tighter control in order to guide the agentic system in order to get to the final layout that we are initially planning out. And also we can fine tune and optimize it at each agentic levels for token optimization. So that is the bigger thing right now. When you want to plan to scale, publish a product at large scale, you have to focus on token cost. If it is too
right,
much token cost, it's just not worth it. Just because if you insert all the tool calls into one single agent, what will happen is it will bloat up. It will bloat up the token cost by huge levels and it will not work. So instead of that, what you do is this division of work, of division of labor, and at each place you have these specific tool calls, and the higher level orchestrator decides which sub agent to call, and then you have all this. But that said, multi-agentic system versus one super smart AI agent system, I guess it was never a competition like that kind of thing.
mm-hmm.
Multi-agentic system supports that one super big smart AI agent. And that is where the competition is. Like Google, Apple, and all these fellows will try to become
Right.
that one big smart, which is capable of triggering all these multiple, small agents.
Right, right. So eventually, there will be one big smart agent,
Yeah,
but yeah, they'll be like, that'll be like the CEO
yeah,
of the human race, and they'll be
yeah,
then giving tasks to smaller micro agents and for basically for tool calling, and that's just like a corporate works, right? Like you have your managers, then you have your social media team, then you have
yeah.
your content creators, very similar to that, right? Now there's one more term which has been coming up, right? And I want to understand the difference. So there are AI agents, yes, but there are also AI assistants which are coming up. Now what is, so we've understood the difference between an AI chatbot and an AI agent. Now what's the difference between an AI agent and an AI assistant?
So, in the terms that I just spoke, right, the one super smart AI agent, right, that guy has to have like a really good reasoning abilities in order to trigger any of the AI agents. Right? So that will be primarily the power of the LLM model that is in place. It can be Gemini 2.5. That's the race happening here. So Gemini 2.5 versus Claude 4 versus Llama. All these models are racing towards to become that model, right? Now, all of these models are there, cool and well. But then the AI assistant comes into place. AI assistant is the way through which these models are triggered and the tools are triggered. And the AI assistant's powerful capability does not come from these reasoning capabilities. Its power comes from its knowledge capability of understanding the user. So the AI assistant knows the user far better, and so it can give contextual guidance to any of these LLM models so that they can get the job done perfectly for that user's perspective, for that user's thing. So it has that ground level knowledge and it has that, how did I say, human in the loop factor where it knows the human far better than any other. That's another different race. Again, there also Google will compete. It has this Google
Right,
Assistant, and similarly, many people will compete. But both are two different segments of competition. One is where reasoning competition is happening. One is
right.
where UX competition is happening, where you
Hmm.
can edit the user into using your assistant.
Right.
Yeah,
God, right, right. So ultimately, yeah, but these are all big corporates which are competing, right?
yeah,
Does that leave any space for the smaller
yeah.
startups and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, actually, Microfox is also prepping up to become an AI assistant. So
Right.
yeah, I guess it used to be the place where corporate companies can kill ideas back in the day, but not now anymore. If a four-man team like us can build thousands of packages in 7 days, then what is the overhead they have over us? Like it used to be very big overhead where they had all these huge funds and huge, But now it has been, the distance has been decreased. There is still a lot of distance. There is no comparing us with Google and everyone, but comparatively, it is giving startups and founders and everyone who wants to start new things superpowers so that they can try. And the bigger companies, they have these restrictions in place because they are too giant a company. They have to think about legal bindings. They have to think about what the world thinks, what these countries will think, what are the policies of these countries, what are the privacy policies. So they have their own restrictions that are tying up their innovation. And the startup and entrepreneurs should see that as an opportunity to begin, I guess.
Right. It's the they say that AI is eventually the great equalizer, right? So be
Yeah,
it an indie developer, be it a star like a 5 to 10 person team, or be it a corporate, you can actually end up building the same technology. Of course, there will be differences with distribution and
yeah,
what is your
yeah,
reach, but from a technical standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. There's also one more thing which has been coming up, and that's been there are a lot of people who are predicting that jobs as we know it might stop existing, or the actual social fabric will change to what they say is a fractionalized economy, right?
yeah.
So can you shed some light on what is fractionalized economy, and how will it how does AI actually create a fractionalized economy?
I think fractionalized economy, the term was first used by that guy. I don't remember his name quite well. He's on Twitter. He's a VC. He does some really good quotes. I don't remember his name. Anyway, so basically, the fractionalized economy coming into the place that you wake up and you want to do a job. So you have a list of jobs that you can do on that day. You can pick one job, you can do it, and you can get paid. So basically, I'm not working for any big company. I'm not working for any said small company either. So I can just pick my own job, do my job, end that work, and then we are good to go. So that was the future that was envisioned back then. And
Right.
how we are seeing that happening at the moment is that fractionalized economy will come into its place into the system when each individual has bigger capabilities. Because
Hmm.
why is it that now I need to work for a company? It is because the company is needed to do marketing, to do HR, to do
Right.
sales, right? I myself can't do all of that by myself, so I have to depend on that company, get my pay from that company, and do all that. Fractionalized economy will come into place when one man can build a company by himself, right?
Hmm.
He can do marketing by using of marketing AI agent. He can
Right.
do sales by using another AI. So that kind of power, when it comes into place, that's when you will see the real fractionalized economy coming into place. And the job losing thing, so there are safeguards and there are some things that AI can never do. So that is why when we were talking previously, now why AI agent can do almost anything
Right.
to us. So basically, we have a system in place. It's called HIDL. HIDL is
Mhm.
the system that we try to define to give the control to the user, control to the human. Because AI, if given too much scope or too much permission, can do some dangerous actions. It can be as simple as deleting a GitHub repo, which is
Right.
not so quite simple if you have a very big thing.
Yes.
But anything. So there are some dangerous actions, and you do not want it to be performed without a human in the loop. So HIDL, abbreviated as human in the loop. And there are systems that are already in place when you are building an AI agent or an AI tool or something, where you can design HIDL tools in order to stop any tool call at mid place and ask the user permission and then go on and to continue it. That is one thing. And the second thing is HIDL is also useful to grab the user's preferences, grab the user's actions, grab the user's knowledge, grab the user's. So in a way, what HIDL allows the AI systems to do is create a clone of yourself in time, not now. So, but in time, slowly, if it can grab enough knowledge about you, it can
Right.
create a clone of you. So then what will happen is like you have your own clone, and that is your intellectual property. So that is how you are going to do 100 man's work in a single day. So that is the future that is being think of and thought of, and so far we are not anywhere close there. So no need to worry about that. And jobs, I would say, focus on the deeper level. Don't focus on the smaller level tasks like If building a package is what you're good at, then you should stop it because package works are
Right.
technical packages. So you have
Right.
to build something deeper. That's why invite developers to start think about creating coding agents for their own places and setups because that's where the next level of the step is. So
Right. We actually have a question from one of our viewers, which which is probably the next question, which I would also want to ask. That let's say you said that that developers need to now start building things rather than just building a package and have a very small set of skills. So Rahul asks, what should we build if we're a small developer? By small developer, I think he means like a junior developer, just one person in their final year of college, and they want to build an AI tool but not compete with OpenAI.
okay, so I'd say no single developer can compete with OpenAI.
Right.
Right, it is too big to compete right now. But what you can do is start playing with AI, right? So there are two ways that you can play with AI. One is you go into the research department where you are understanding the ML research and the backgrounds, the transformers, and all that.
Right.
And the two is the application layer, where even if all these ML researchers and all they build this fantastic scientific stuff, they still need to be get to be applied in order for
Right.
it to work in the real world. So applications are at our level, like at the full stack level, and you can start playing around with the ASDK or LangGraph or whatever you are good at, and then you get to understand a little bit depth of how deeper it goes. So when you first build an AI chatbot, you will not know like the depth of it. But when you build an AI agent, then you will know that you have a lot of capability that you can achieve. And then if you go an even level deeper, then you will be like me, sitting here and doing the next level stuff. So just don't get afraid of it and get started on it. It's not that difficult. It's easy to grab onto as long as you put in the effort.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very fair knowledge. Don't get scared and start playing with it. I think
Yeah.
that's very important to stay relevant. You said, like you mentioned a couple of tools, like you mentioned AI SDK, you mentioned LangGraph. That brings me to another thing which I saw in your profile, that you're actually also a contributor to one of these tools, which is the AI SDK, right? So, can you explain why something like an AI SDK is needed, and what is it exactly?
So basically, AISDK is your system in your full stack setup where through which you can, contact any LLM model like Google Gemini or Llama or anything. So they have adapters in place and you can just use any LLM model. And similarly, they have tool calling setup where you can set up the tools. So basically, it's the background, backend stuff where the AI is doing all that stuff where it's the agentic system or whatever. One thing that is good with ASDK and not so good with LangChain and LangGraph is that ASDK support is built by the same team that has been built Next.js. So Next.js is the most popular platform for building websites and web applications, right? So they have provided some incredibly good support in order to get it integrated with Next.js, and the streaming support and all that is already in place. So streaming means the message starts appearing as it gets coming. So
Right.
right and all that, and now we are seeing the AI SDK v5, which I was not exactly a big part of, but I was a part of the next level stuff after the AI SDK v5. I was kind of part
Mm-hmm.
of that. And ASDK v5, basically, it has introduced some really cool concepts. So basically, how you can control at a mid step which tools to call. It's called prepare step, and there are some powerful features that will enable you to build multi-agentic systems even more powerfully. Like it is some good set of features, and the biggest advantage of ASDK is streaming capabilities, as I said before, because you want to provide a really good user experience, then you pick ASDK and stick to the standards that are being set by the web people, full stack people.
Super. That sounds really interesting, and that brings us to the main topic of our discussion today, which is AI agents actually logging into systems, just like we do, which is basically one of the technologies which are trying to um, build this is MCP OAuth, right? So can you explain it a bit for our viewers, and also why do you think this would be, or will it be potentially game changing? Like, I think it will be potentially game changing, but yeah, but what are your thoughts on MCP OAuth?
So OAuth, right? OAuth is a concept that has been in place for quite some time, 5 to 10 years ago. Only OAuth was there.
Right. Yes.
So basically, OAuth was introduced as a standard for API security, right? So back then there were API tokens, and then we got to move to OAuth because API tokens give generalized access, whereas OAuth gives a user level access. So
Right.
what OAuth means is Reddit can give me its OAuth, and I can actually use that OAuth to perform some user actions of Reddit user in his place, in his stead, or perform some Slack action for some Slack user in his place, in his stead. So that kind of behavior is exactly what AI assistants are looking out for, because that is what is the next level, as I described, right? So you want AI agents to perform actions in your place. So that requires this OAuth security to be in place. But MCP was designed in a different ideal context. So MCP and OAuth never went well together. They were never clubbed together
Right.
because MCPs were designed to be some hacky tools for developers.
Right.
So only a developer can start an MCP server and he can connect all that, and it requires you to run the server on your local site, right? So OAuth is not the best place for an MCP to be. That's why we were actually also talking with Model Context Protocol community members, and
Hmm.
trying to see where a pattern approaches where we follow the Open API standard. So Open API is the universal API standard where
Right.
the Open API schema and all that is there, and we want to establish a new standard. There are also many people other trying to establish standards, but basically the most key requirement is that OAuth has to be at the server level and not
Hmm.
at the user level,
Right.
because keeping it at the client level has some security risks, and we don't want that. If you want to have an MCP plus OAuth, you should have it at the remote level and not definitely not at the client level,
True.
because it's not secure. And if you are having it at the server level, then it requires its own specification. So MCP OAuth, they have created this specification about like 30 days ago, I think. It was
Hmm.
already in plan and in motion in 30 days ago. I was active in the community, and it is still in beta. It never got to the actual production launch because of these limitations. Because MCP was designed to be on the client side and not on the backend side, so they were limited by that thing. Yeah, that is how MCP was going. But one thing I like to note is A2A, right? The A2A, these guys are also, A2A is introduced by Google, and basically A2A is like this. I'll try to explain that in a little bit
Right.
more time. But A2A, inside A2A is also the what step, right?
Hmm.
Inside A2A is also the what specification. And somewhere both of these are failing at different levels. So A2A is failing at a different level. I'll also speak that in a moment. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Why OAuth is needed? This is why it is needed.
Right, right. No, that makes sense. And for our viewers, A2A is Google's agent-to-agent specification, which is also basically tries to solve for similar problems. But yeah, Subhakar, since you raised the topic, can you explain a bit about A2A as well?
Yeah, sure. So basically, where Google's idea comes from is that it wants to develop its own host agent, and that host agent has to be, as I said, AI assistant. That AI assistant has to be able to capably interact with any of the AI agents that are there. There. For there,
Right,
there requires a standard to be in place, an agent discovery system to be in place, and these agents they should provide a proper specification through which the host agent can contact these agents and get some work done through these agents. So
right,
that specification, that interface layer is what A2A is, like agent to agent protocol. But the biggest problem that we had observed in A2A was not many movers are there. Not many people are trying to implement A2A. It is primarily because of the cost issue. In an MCP server, the cost is burdened by the user himself, because it is his own API key, and it is running at his own server. The computational usage is also burdened by the user. Whereas in A2A, an agent, someone who built that agent has to bear the burden. So
Right.
in order to do that, they have to build a proper distribution system where the payments are cross supported and all that. That is a layer complicated, and we are not there yet. Where agents are that popular and there are that many specialized agents and all. But we will get there in due time, and when we do get there, that's when A2A protocol. Currently, even we, the Microfox, the internal agents, we are also supporting A2A protocol, but it is of not much use because there is no host agent, and obviously I cannot give my agents for free to Google or anyone because it costs me something like computational usage and package folks, and there is the token cost and all that. So I'm not never going to give it for free. So unless the pricing thing has been taken care of, unless they have finalized on a distribution system, A2A will never reach its peaks.
Right, right. That is a question for our viewers. That if you're building something or if you're thinking of something, this is a nice research area. That how does when A2A actually becomes mainstream, how do payments work? Right? Do you do stable coin payments through streaming mechanisms, or do you stream micro payments or something like that? These are I think the lingering questions which we still have to figure out, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So but tell me one thing. Once these AI agents, let's say the payment gets figured out, agents can authenticate like humans, um, they can communicate with each other, pay each other. What is something which becomes possible which is not possible today?
What is something that becomes possible that is not possible today? So basically, the powers are monopolized, right? When it comes
Hmm.
to AI agents, most of the AI agents are monopolized by these SaaS companies. There is a
Right,
specific AI tool that is really good at voice capabilities,
right.
and there is a specific AI tool like my packet folks, which is good at building packages. So there are some powers, and they have done a lot of work in order to make that AI agent that good in their specific domain. They made sure that the agent is very good, but they are monopolizing it. They are not giving it away to anyone. So what happens is you have to pay $30 for one AI tool. You have to pay $20 for another AI tool. You have to pay $50 for another AI tool. Which in actual fact you never get to use the entire $50 worth of that AI tool.
True.
So what happens when these payment systems come into place is all these AI tools are being used by one central AI assistant. So you're
Right.
only paying what it is worth for you. So it's a pay as you go kind of like a credit mechanism where you pay for what you're using. So that is more effective than trying to pay $30 for each AI tool. And there will be more and more AI tools going on because there will be endless of AI tools.
True. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. My last question for today, where we're slightly a bit extra, but the conversation we're doing is very interesting. So I want to ask one more thing. That we've been talking about how jobs will be lost, how our skills, what we know, like coding and, as you said, building packages, that becomes less valuable. What is one skill which you think will become more valuable when actually AI can log in to our systems and do exact tasks just like we do today?
I guess the times will keep on changing. So there is no set skill that will stay permanently fixed. That said, this will be the key thing, except management, of course. But if I had made a LinkedIn post on this when I was trying to hire developers, if you're a developer, you need to be good at one of these two things. One, be incredibly good at reasoning and grasping abilities so that you can understand any level of complexity easily by reading the code that coding agent prints out. So you need to be that powerful debugging capabilities, right? You see a code, you know where it is, the error is. So that only usually comes from experience, like building lots of stuff. That's how you gain it, right? There is no good alternative unless you are like really super smart. The second thing that is very much valued as much as the first is user experience. No, designers are not going to do user experience. That those times are long gone by. So now it is like the design and the development have been mixed in the front end role. So the front end developer actually does the design himself. He knows all the capabilities of it, where to place the button, how the colors should be, what the fonts should be. Most front end developers are really already good at all this stuff. So, but
Right.
the problem is AI is never actually going to become good at this stuff, because as the times change, human perceival also changes, right? What is in trends today will not be in trends tomorrow. So
Right.
now it is famous that we put the cross button at the top right. But
Yes.
then Apple came and Apple said, no, I don't want the red button on the top right. I'll put it on the top left.
On the left. Right.
Right. So the design is so fundamentally different that it can never grasp it. So design is one thing you should really become good at. And one of the other things is nowadays you have to stop treating AI coding assistant as assistants. Like there were a time where we were using GitHub Copilot and all that, and we are using auto completion features. But now the way the style you code is not so much as writing code. It is about describing your objectives to cursor or something. So
Right.
it is like talking to a junior developer and getting work done, for you. So that capability only comes from management. So you need to upskill your management capabilities so that you can talk with AI agents better. I guess yeah, that is it.
Right.
But yeah, it is still, there is still enough padded time period, because even now cursor is not that great.
Mm.
So much of
Of
the time
course.
I have to fix my stuff by myself, but it will get there. It is not so far away either. So you have to plan for it.
Right. So I think management and the creative ability and the ability to understand human psychology and emotions, those are things which will be important, and those are the skills which will be needed, because eventually, yeah, as you said, that these things change. They are not, whatever cannot be predicted by
Yeah.
knowing everything what happened before is something which we'll
Yeah,
still
exactly.
value.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. So, Bakar, this has been amazing. You've given us a front row seat to one of the most important, shifts in AI development.
Okay.
For our listeners, whether you're building AI agents, evaluating, these strategies, or just trying to understand how this technology will reshape your industry, the key takeaway is Subhakar's last line, that we're not there yet, but we're not very far away.
Yeah.
Right. Subhakar, where can people find you if they want to learn more about, let's say, the Moon Devs or Microfox or
LinkedIn. I'm
LinkedIn?
very active on LinkedIn. And
Amazing.
can I say something about the workshop that I was planning?
Absolutely, 100%.
So basically, guys, if you're a developer, I have a workshop that I will start this Friday, and this workshop is about how you can build a tracking coding agent, which will be running in the GitHub workflows and will automatically write some scripts or some code in your repos. It will be a good breakthrough experience if you have never built a coding agent, and yeah, it will be a good experience. Join if you're interested.
Amazing. And what I will do is that I'll put the link to the workshop in the comments, how to actually join. Once this podcast is over, so Bakar, you can send me over the link,
Yeah,
and and then you guys can register and join in for this workshop. And I think it'll be very very valuable for our listeners who are right now trying to explore agents, and who are trying to actually get into this space.
yeah.
And yes, thank you so much for joining us, Subhakar. Thank you so much to our viewers. We'll see you next time on Chinet. Bye bye.
Yes, thank you.